What's up, YouTubers? I'm your host, the J-Man. Welcome to my video, and today we're going to be talking about just about everyone's favorite topic, it seems to be, and that is mixed martial arts, UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship. Alright, now today I want to discuss a few things that have been on my mind, just a couple random topics, and give you kind of a spiel on what I believe should be happening. First of all, I want to cover a wish list that I have, my wish list of matches. I want to see these matches take place soon, and I believe they need to happen in order to clear some things up, to really define who's who. And you know, everyone wants to talk about rankings and where certain guys stack up in divisions. You know, that's always going to be up for debate, but most recently we've had a lot of clarification and a lot of justification for the rankings. Of course, we saw Fedor Emelianenko lose. He lost to Verdum, and then of course we had Brock Lesnar defeat Shane Carwin just recently. So those two fights clear up the top of the heavyweight division pretty well, but there's still a lot of controversy there. But as far as other divisions go, I've done my piece. I've said my piece about the welterweight division within the UFC. I've cleared that up, what I believe is my top 11 welterweights in the UFC. I made that video. If you didn't see it, go back and check it out. It's still pretty valid. Not a whole lot has changed in that video other than Paul Daly being let go from the UFC. I believe that video gives you a pretty good idea of the top welterweights in the entire world. Okay, these are my top 11 picks for the UFC guys, and as we know, the UFC is pretty much the most elite brand and most competitive MMA fighting division, or you know, MMA organization. There you go. Okay, so we know how the welterweights stack up pretty well, but the other divisions such as heavyweight and light heavyweight and even middleweight to some degree, but mostly the light heavyweight I'm going to be focusing on here, and I think that division is very controversial, very hard to define where guys stack up on the list. Of course, you know, the top three, it's pretty easy to say the top three. Obviously, number one is going to be the champion of the UFC, Shogun Rua, Mauricio Shogun Rua, who defeated Lyoto Machida. And he's proven himself even before he was in the UFC. He became the 205 champion of Pride by defeating guys such as Quentin Jackson and Ricardo Arona. And he definitely earned that crown. Okay, so we have Mauricio Shogun Rua as the undisputed 205-pound champion. I would say that makes him ranked number one in the world. Even though he lost to Lyoto Machida in the first fight, that was a controversial decision. As we've been over that time and time again, everyone's debated and said that pretty much Shogun should have won that fight. And the rematch, Shogun clearly won. He definitively knocked out Machida. Okay, so in a way that makes them tied at one win apiece, but then again you go back and you say, well, Shogun should have won the first fight. So it's still a little bit up in the air, but we're going to go ahead and say that rank number one belongs to Shogun Rua, which means that rank number two would most likely belong to Lyoto Machida. Okay, having just lost the title and only been defeated by Shogun, I'd say that puts him at number two. Although he hasn't fought some of the higher ranked guys, some of the top contenders such as Quentin Jackson, he's never fought him. Forrest Griffin, he's also never fought Forrest. Rogerio Nogueira, Ricardo Arona, who's no longer fighting in the top promotions, but still, Lyoto Machida hasn't really proven himself as much as someone like Shogun Rua or even Quentin Jackson. But I got to go with Lyoto Machida at the number 2 ranking. based on his skills and his most recent performances. But I believe a fight that really needs to happen, or really should happen soon, is Lyoto Machida versus Forrest Griffin. And why Forrest Griffin? Because Forrest Griffin defeated Quentin Jackson. Okay, he beat him for the championship in 2008, and that was July. Even though that bout was controversial, it went all 5 rounds, it had to go to decision. It was a unanimous decision for Forrest, and I believe wholeheartedly that that was the right decision, because the way I scored it was pretty much, it was exactly the way the judges called it, except for one judge, which the other judge still gave it to Forrest. But I broke it down round for round, paid really close attention to that fight, and I could tell that Forrest won the bout. He won the fight based on points, based on aggression. You know, and then you can go on and say, well, Quentin Jackson beat himself. Quentin Jackson wasn't training for that fight hard enough. If he had been 100%, he would have won. That's all a bunch of hearsay. That's beside the point. Really, it's a discredit to Quentin Jackson. If Jackson was really the top fighter he is, he should have fully prepared for Forrest, and he didn't. So that goes to say that Jackson is a little bit lazy. Okay, so I gotta give rank number 2 to not Forrest, Machida. Forrest Griffin. Now, where does he rank? Having beaten Quentin Jackson, you can maybe argue that he is number 3, but then again, he lost to Anderson Silva, and Anderson Silva doesn't really even compete at 205. The only other match Silva's had at 205 was against James Irvin, and Irvin, you know, you can't even rank him in like the top 25 guys. So where do you rank Forrest Griffin? That's very confusing right now. Forrest needs more fights to determine where he belongs. So it just goes on to prove my point that the 205-pound division is very hard to rank.